listeners, Harika here, and I'm super excited to welcome you to UppTalk. If you're ready to learn and get your hands work wonders in the world of information technology, then you're in the right place. When I say UppTalk, we are not just another edtech company. Consider we are your learning partner committed to unlocking your full potential. Whether you're stepping into the world of technology for the first time or looking to advance your career, we provide top-tier, hands-on courses to build up your career. Let's take our first step towards learning here and explore it.
We were discussing, I think, about the job rates only till now. And we have to start with the job application BP. Let's go to that. This is my support. In order to create the BPs, right, we go to the related action BP and create copy or leave. And over here, I'll select the job application. What happens if I have created one job application type node for my support? Workday will not allow me to create another type, another record, or another BP of the same type. If I just select over here job application, with what I'm doing, I'm just copying the existing definition that I have certain steps there in the system. For me already, I can of course edit them. I have created the BP for my organization. This is how the job application BP looks like in view mode. Let me go into the edit definition mode. As I've told you that once the candidate completes the job application and clicks on submit, he enters the job application process. And in that process also, he's by default part of the review stage. This is a mandatory stage and it is separated from the rest of the stages. I would say because you could see over here, it is the initial step and we cannot remove this. We can remove these steps, but we cannot remove. This is the mandatory and this is generally taken care by the recruiters. Or I would say the primary recruiter, to be honest, because what would be the use of creating primary recruiters if you're not adding it anywhere? Your primary recruiters is responsible. What happens for each of the stages review, screen assessment, interview, reference all of them. They lead to triggering of their sub-processes as well. Once the candidate clicks on submit the job application, BP will get triggered of course, and in that it will lead to triggering of the review sub-process. Let's go into the review sub-BP. Again, I'll go to my support. I'll go to the related action. We always create BP at support level. Or if it is a default definition, then it doesn't require any support. And we consultants have the access to create the default definitions as well. But during the migration recipe itself, when the tenant is getting set up, the foundation tenant, during those recipes, migration itself, we also get the default definitions. That's why we don't look into it much. But if we want to create BP for our support, this is how we create it. If I search for job application, now I won't be able to see it. That is because I have already created one. Workday is not allowing me for another one. I have to look into the review candidate BP now. Create copy link. It is also again a simple one. Now, one thing to be noted for all the sub processes of these stages, like the review, BP, full screen BP, assessment, BP, all of them should have their last step as the decision making step. Only then the candidate would be moved forward or he would be declined. If you don't have the decision step how the candidate would be moved forward, there won't be any step related to that which will go to the security group. Security group could be recruiter, HR partner manager, anybody. We have action steps which are already delivered, and most of them are also getting visible in other sub stages processes as well. We have common steps, you could say, and three customized steps. The first one is candidate self-scheduled event. If we are using this step, it means we are asking candidate if they want to schedule any event or any meeting or anything. They're giving him this task of communicating with us if needed. Then change comment or identifier. Whatever data was put in related to government identifiers in the job application by the candidate, or if the recruiter is creating the job application on behalf of the candidate. If we want to change those government identifiers, we have the option over here. And it could go to the recruiter, HR partner, and anybody. Then comes the change of personal information. If there's some changes needed in the personal information of the candidate, either recruiter or candidate, both of them can make the changes. Then review decision, it would come as the last step. Then comes the same endorsement request. This concept is something related to reference, which will come in the later part. In reference, what we do, we, the existing employee, refer somebody who is outside the organization. And then the process will be initiated and some communication will go to that candidate. Whereas in endorsement, once the person gives in the job application details over there, he can mention that I know somebody in the company already. And then a request would go to that organization person that somebody has mentioned that they know you in the company. Would you like to endorse that person? In endorsement, the request is coming from the candidate, whereas in referral it is coming from the person in the system itself. We have a setup of three steps and different VPs where the endorsement could be done. That is a different topic. The next step is to update the US disability status, which the candidate must have provided. Then the US veteran status again, which would be changed as well. A review. BP itself deals with what the data the person has given until now. If any changes needed, it could be done or a decision could be made that we are with everything. It could be moved on to the next stage. Now coming to the next stage. How we would know what is the next possible stage. That would be visible over here. In the review, if the person is in review during the decision making step, the candidate could be moved into any one of these next possible steps. You could see here as well possible next steps. From review itself, the person could be moved to offer as well. He could be moved to reference check, or he could also be hired as well. That is why job application process is a dynamic BP. There is no proper sequence. Whereas the review BP, which we saw, this is a static BP. It has order A, B, C, D. Now there's one question I would like to put on to you. Not right now. Let me just cover 2-3 stages, then I'll ask. These are the possible next stages. Let's suppose if a person selects phone screen, not the person, the security group selects the phone screen, then the phone screen BP or the screen BP would be triggered. Now let's look into the screen BP, how it looks like. I'll open the support again. I'll go to BP create copy link and screen. But they have just put in custom label with phone screen name, but actually Workday delivered is the screen stage only. Here I'm going to select screen default definition. Again, if I see automatically unpost. This step is coming now. Why it is coming? Let's suppose if you include this, it means the job break would be automatically unposted from the portals where it is currently posted right now. But it is soon. It is very soon to decide that we want to unpost. I feel that during the hire BP or during the ready for hire BP, we should include this step because only then it would make sense. And during that BP, only like the candidate would be hired. If a person is hired, only then we should unpost. It's no sense to keep it right now. In candidate itself, scheduled event. Self scheduled event, again, it is same as the previous one that if you want any meeting or communication to be set up from candidate during the screen stage, that could be done. Then all these are same. Only different is the screen candidate. This is again a decision making step. From here, if this is triggered from screen, these are the possible next steps, and these steps will lead to triggering of those stages. Then off after screen. Let's pull. The person selects the assessment. Now let me know the person would be in the assessment stage, and I need to just click on here. I'll open this above again and select the SES candidate. When they assess candidate, what will happen? Like this stage will lead to triggering of some assessment related steps. Here the integration could also come into picture. Like often, the client includes third-party system to take the assessment step. Like they would be responsible for giving all the questions, for taking the answers and checking the scores, finalizing the scores, and giving the proper pass or fail decision. All those could be taken care of by the third-party vendor. For that we need integration. And But if I check the steps of the actions once more, we have assessed candidate, then we have make assessment decision that will come at the end, then take candidate assessment. In this case, we need to attach an assessment. But currently, like we don't have the option of creating assessment in this tenant, that particular domain is suspended. I cannot even enable it. But from here, like the person could be given the assessment. Like he could be given a questionnaire, a PDF or doc or whatever, and the person has to like a reply or whatever. Even a link could be shared with the person, and it would say that the link will expire within these 3 days with the due date we can put. And the person will give him the response, and from recruiter side he would be getting like he would be seeing the responses in a particular database for that link. That is how it could be done as well. We can add all the steps which are allowed here. We can include all the steps, or we can pick the one we want to sign in our VP. We can include as per our client's requirement. We don't have to include each and every step. And one more thing, the UMP OST job. We only have to add any stage, or it has to be after hiring. If it is available to us now, we can definitely add it. But it still doesn't make any sense that let's suppose a candidate is in screen state. Maybe he gets declined in the offer stage. What will happen? That job could still be open. It won't be filled. Again, we have to post it. It doesn't make sense. Let the candidate be still ready for hire or hire. Let the hire VP get triggered. Only then we should post it. Only then it would be sensible. Thank you. A. Take assessment, assess candidate. Let us see. I also wanted to make you see that we have integration type also available. If you're putting this, it will automatically redirect to the integration team and the third party and everything, whatever we have mentioned. But I'm removing the step and let us see. Yes, we have. We just gone through assessment. If from assessment, the next step selected is for interview, then this particular step will trigger. In the interview VP, we have these best possible steps. I would say the first one is to schedule the interview. In this case, the pan of the room, the location, everything would be selected. And here let me see possible people responsible. Let me put in recruiter as well here. Then comes the second step. It's a shared participation type step. What will happen? This will lead to triggering of two inbox items. One will go to recruiter. One will go to the candidate. What will happen? The candidate would provide in the feedback of how the interview went, and recruiter will make sure that the feedback has come in. It is given to us by the candidate and I can just submit this. It will lead to triggering of two steps. And we can include any other security group here as well. The last step is to again make the interview decision. If I select the action steps, let's see what all we have. Automatically unpaused, change your personal, make interview decision. We have included. We also have great interview. What happened? There are a lot of candidates and they will have interview. And we would like to specifically rate them that once the interview decision would be made by the manager, we will do the comparison based on those ratings and accordingly the candidate would move forward or decline. It's a good practice to include this as well. All included. And let the recruiter do it. Who is allowed? Employee. That's not the right thing. Why the employee would be reading the interview? I need to check the VP policy. Make interview decision rate, then schedule interview, then schedule interview. Team is also specifically given where the panels would be decided for sure. And rest are all same. It is going to. And go here and check the BP policy. I'll go to BP and edit. Schedule interview. These people can do make interview. This change permit ID update. Send endorsement. Who can do actions on entire security? The action is only approve or deny. These are two options in action we have right. In action, we can only approve or deny. In the action step type, you're saying we can approve, we can deny. Some of them also have send back option. Some have edit option as well. When we used to do mean we have to perform some action. To do step, it's like a notification given in the inbox but without any button like he can. The person cannot do anything in Workday, but there would be an instruction given to him. Like you have to now submit the water bottles to the new hires, or you have to submit the new hire orientation kit, something like that. Or like the recruiter now have to offline discuss with the candidate why he withdrawn. Like these kind of actions which a person cannot take in Workday, but those notifications are given as an inbox item only. But we still have to define it in a business. Yes, we have to define it, and the activity for that would take place offline. I think not inside the Workday. It could occur inside the Workday also, like to do step could be done like please change the contact information of the candidate. Such kind of task would be given. But that was the interview. VB, let me check if it is coming. Interview is also now done. And we didn't have any policy where I can edit this rate interview. We cannot edit definition for this interview BP. We can edit it, definitely. What it says that here the employee as self is not the candidate. In this case it is the interviewer, like who took the panels. I would say those are the employers here. Now I will click on this BP and simply edit definition. I was looking at the BP policy, but it didn't have any rate interview related section. I just went off, and this is where you can edit these steps as well. Now a question. Let's suppose we want the whole recruiting job application to process this particular sequence only. Like we don't want from review to reference check happen or from review to offer happen. We don't want such kind of options to be available to the recruiter or hiring manager. We want only the next possible steps to be in order, like how they are visible here. What do you think how we can do that configuration in the job application? In the job, when we define the job application, we have to assign these BP in a sequence. One after the other, then they follow the sequence. How we can define that? Like this is the BP right now. If I go on to edit, where I can define it over here. Yes, this is a possible next step here. Like what should be done? Like if I want phone screen to occur only phone screen, then you have to remove the rest. This is highly asked by the client. We want the sequence only. We don't want a lot of information options to be given. We will only include phone screen when the person is making the decision from review stage to which stage you should be moved on to. Only screening stage would be allowed. In phone screen, we will only include assessment as the possible next step. Then in assessment, we will include only the interview. That is how we can make the decision. For each of these sub-processes, we have to have at least two. One is to conduct the process like review. And then the last one should be review decision where we can move them. Now, here we have a lot of assessment. We have these. We don't need all of these. If we want a simple version, like we can only include interview. From assessment, only interview stage would be the next possible stage. Why they have mentioned all these here? Is it possible to skip the stage? Definitely. From assessment, if the decision has to be made, all these would be the next possible stages. The recruiter can quickly select offer or reference check. You can skip the interview. That would be possible. Or from reference, check if you see the next possible note. From here, currently you can be moved forward only. But if I go to interview, he could be. Here also, like they have included only the front ones. But we can include the review as well. Like from phone screening, the person can go to the back as well. Like if some additional screening or anything is required to see the review is also possible. He can be moved on to backstage as well. I need to get the security. If during, like say, if we do an interview, state we assign the other next steps, reference check, offer, employment agreement, and then we don't have to configure all these processes individually. Yes, definitely. Definitely always. Yes, we start with reference check. We don't have to go to the next offer. We still have to define those processes now. Yes, definitely. We have to, because maybe for some other candidate in future we would need offer. And offer is, very important step. How is possible? Like to skip for some stages for some candidates. Just follow the sequence for another candidate. We have one default definition that we copy the default definition, but how we can configure two different type of steps within the same job, application BP. For example, from review you want to take him to the interview, that you want to skip these stages. Recruiter will select the next possible step of interview over here. That would be the candidate would not be visible under this grid on the job requisition if you have seen. And he would now be triggering the interview with directly from interview. If he performs well, he could be moved to offer as well directly. In this case, reference check would be skipped. And if, let's suppose you want steps along with conditions. That could also happen that this will only be possible. This next step would only be possible from review if the candidate was an internal candidate. Like he was already part of organization. He was moving into some other department. Or he could be moved to offer only if like from the evergreen requisition, like the linking is going on. Still all the stages have been covered in the evergreen itself. Now we have to do the offer. That is how the condition is put. This is a custom condition, not work-tuned. That is how customization is done. And for the default definition will not change in this way because this is now. We are skipping some stage, but maybe for another candidate, we want to follow the same sequence. It doesn't affect the region. In client tenant, we only have default definitions for job application. We'll only have default definition for phone screen assessment interview. There would be only one default definition generally for each of the business process type. And in those VPs, we can customize it. We can customize the steps like it will trigger for some, it will not trigger for some. And we can put a condition on it. That is how we can do the condition. Also, do you know about rule-based BP definition? No, haven't. What happens? Let's suppose we want a completely different definition to trigger, but we don't want to create a separate BP other than the default definition. What will happen? I'll go to this BP. This would also be possible for any other BP. I'll go to the related actions. I'll go to the BP, and here comes the rule-based business process configuration. I'll click here. Click. Based on a rule like, let's suppose, if the management level is 6 or 7, then we don't want the default definition to trigger. We want this particular definition to trigger. That is how the rule-based BP definitions could be maintained. In that case, we have to create the workflow definition here. Currently, I don't have the access to create, but we can. And creating rule is like creating any other condition rule. That is how we do it. That is the simple one. We can define the business process step here in this one. We can in the definition. The definition would be like another BP over here. But what will happen if we search for this BP? Now, like it won't be visible as a separate record. It is included in the default definition itself. Based on the rule. Based on the rule. What will happen? Let's suppose a job application BP is triggered and it has certain rule-based definitions also. If those rules are met, Workday will first see that if I have to trigger those rule-based BPs, if any one of the condition meets, that particular definition will trigger. If none of them meets, then this default definition will trigger. We went through interview because I think now let's look into reference check. It is also very simple. In reference check also, we have decision making steps. Apart from this, we have our references. Reference check is basically like the candidate would provide to whom the company can contact for his basic details, like whether he mentioned the address correctly, his previous job history correctly, or any other schooling or college or anything. Add references step could be included and it will go to candidate. Then we can have review add references. What will happen? It can go to recruiter. Recruiter can contact those references and review them, that they are genuine. Like they can look into their government identifiers or anything like how they do it. They will have the process move. That is how it could be done. Let me add two steps. One, like we should add one more. This job application can also be searched from the task. We don't have to go to the supervisory. Supervisory. I am going to that supervisor because I'm creating it. But if you are searching, then you have to search in the search bar with BP prefix, and you can type in the name of the super, and all the BP related to your super can come. Or you can type in the name of exact BP. It was an action step and add reference. Review add references, and it should go to candidate as. They have added recruiter. Fine. Maybe the recruiter would ask the candidate to provide him the details. He will make sure that those references are added. Also, I'm not checking the BP policy right now because it's breaking time. Otherwise, candidate, it will go to candidate also. Then comes the next stage. From reference, he could be moved to offer. Now let me look at the offer BP, which is like the most important one because the other offer generation occurs. It's a very basic one. I have seen for clients putting in 16, 17 steps. All of them are like very customized based on conditions. They are not very different, but these are the basic steps. The first one is the employee compensation offer. What will happen in the job profile will have the compensation details. That job profile gets attached to job break. For that particular job break, we will see whether the right compensation details are coming from the comp package, like the comp grade and every other bonuses and everything. All those things are coming properly and it would be taken care by the recruiter manager or anybody. Who's the initiator in this case? Initiator is the person who has triggered this BP. Like whosoever has moved in from reference check to offer. That would be the initiator for offer. Then comes the generate documents step. This majorly done by recruiter and over here we'll select the documents. Step the documents. We'll see how it looks like. Then there's very good feature Workday provides where the candidate can review the document. And if he doesn't like it or if there's any negotiation needed, he will see a send back button and it will go to the recruiter back. Most of the clients ask that how, if the negotiation is done, how the process will follow, like it will start from scratch. No, it will not. It will just go back to the recruiter, just the previous step, and the recruiter will regenerate it and send it back. The candidate will review. If he finds he will submit, and then the next step will trigger. The next step is to one-time payment, then stock grant, and end of the offer decision. Again, one-time payment and stock grant. All those will trigger once the candidate accepts the offer. Majorly like we don't trigger them with the offer letter mainly. We can do it. No issue on that. But it's a good practice to include it after the document is generated. And if I click on, I'll see the button to configure the documents. See here is to configure or generate the document. Basically, we are going to generate the template here. I have already created one that we show. Is the document I've created. I'll just open it, edit view, edit view. The task for that is simply create document. I will search in the Workday. I'll just open it and edit. I have to give the name, the category only. Once we attach the category, then that particular document is visible in the drop down option, like the recruiter would be able to select only that. We have to select the category, of course, like how, if you remember, for the questionnaire we have seen one field, allowed business process, if you remember. If we are putting the allowed business process only, then the questionnaire would be visible in those people. Similarly, we have to select the category, that this document is not available for any other categories. Like they should not be available for agencies or assessments or certifications. They are only for offers. And here I've put in the description, thus that type I've selected. Other than template, we have two other types. One is the attachment. If you're selecting the attachment, in that case a Word doc could be attached by the recruiter and given to the candidate simply. The Word doc or the PDF or whatever it is. Maybe it could be there won't be any signing option also available. Like how we add the signature in PDF, only that possible option is available. It is very outdated. That's why we don't go with the attachment, because we don't want recruiter to go manually and then like look into the candidate name and edit it and then send it. No, we want to work automatically to generate the standardized offer in the format and just prepare it for us. The second type is the link. In link, what will happen? A link will go to candidate. You will click on that link and then you'll see the document and you'll put a signature, any acceptance or any checkbox if it is included. And you'll close that link. That is how you'll see the offer and he'll accept it. But in the template, what we are going to do, we are going to create the text blocks. And this is the most used one. We have the text block introduction body, sign on payment conclusion. Introduction body and conclusion will be visible to each and every candidate, whether it's internal, external, and from whichever portal he has come. It doesn't matter. But this sign on payment, it would only be visible only if the candidate is applicable for the sign on bonus. Like during his recruitment process, in his job profile it was already mentioned, or in the comp package it was already mentioned, that these candidates of this job profile would be getting a sign on boards. Only those particular candidates would be able to see this particular text block. And the second tab is for the layout. This is done by the integration and reporting team. And it works on how the logo format of the offer letter everything will look like. If I open this layout, it has a report designer kind of an attachment. It is created by integration team using Board and Studio. I have the steps for it, but it is taken care by the integration team. We consultants are not. We should not care about it. But we have to talk to them and provide them with the logo and the format which the client has told us. Or we have to include in the discussion client integration and consultant all. This is the report design. And if I click on this report design and open this logo and open this word, it has a different format. For this, created by integration, we don't know how to even create it. But this is about coming back to text block. I'll just show you the text block and the new tab. If I edit it, see here it is simple to how we have created the email template or message template or even these two majorly we have created. There also, you saw the body content section. We have the static statements and we can all sorry. Let me cancel it. We have the static and the dynamic. What they will automatically fetch the candidate's compensation, current compensation from his job profile, his first name, last name. This is like the work has been done by the work get set. Then the body. What? The complete template will be already generated. We just have to attach it here, right? You don't have to create a stamp. We have to create the text blocks, of course, and then we'll simply attach this document. This particular document standard of later and all these details in the text box would be fresh from Workday automatically. And in the offer letter, which would be generated for that particular candidate, these details will be public. Well, they will do the calculation. But we are responsible for creating the text box in the document. And even the text box could also be used. But they should have a common source, like it should be offer. Only offer related text blocks which were created previously by some other consultant. It can be used as well. And I'll just click on and done. That's it. And if I click on done also again, no. This BP prefix is not working. I'm just putting in the name of support and I'll see all the processes related to it. But now we have created this. If I go to offer now, if I would have not put in any document here, it means I have not generated anything. Workday will give me an error that you have to configure here as well when you're configuring your BP. If I click on it, I see the document attached. It is attached already and I'll just click on. And now I have to attach this document in this step which will go to the candidate. And he will review it. I have to make sure when I'm creating the BP, these should be configured as well. This document would be effective from this particular moment. Then we have the integration type E signed by dot sim. Integration is needed. Then if I scroll down, this document is selected. I want to change it with standard one. That's it. If in the any instruction we want to give to the candidate, we could do it. That's it. And this attachment option is like, do we definitely need that? The candidate to E, sign and then attach. Generally, yes, we should always make it required. But in this system, integration is not done. That's why I think these options are grayed out. That's why candidate won't be able to e-sign. You can see the message also for steps configured with an e-signature integration type. The completed e-signed documents are the only uploaded attachment permitted on the steps. A person would only be able to attach the e-signed document type. He won't be able to attach a PDF or doc or any of the Excel file. Nothing. He would only be able to attach. That's why this is grayed out, because integration is not yet completed. Just click on. After that, we have the simple one is request one-time payment of. These would be triggered by recruiter. He would set the one-time payment of related actions. Then if there's any stock grant also given and at the end make offer decisions, the manager will decide that all the processes were done properly. The candidate accepted it and we are to go forward. Then this decision would be made. Then comes the next stage of employment agreement. Employment agreement is something which also includes a lot of documents, but we don't configure how we configured it for offer. It relates to the terms and conditions and policies of the company. Well, just click on create. And I need to type in you can see action steps like initiate the hire contract, collective agreements, probation period, employment agreement, and these two are also available here. Stock grant is also available here. There are no disputes. No dispute is taken care of by the same people, majorly. We have agreement decisions. It will be done by the H, our part. This is how employment agreement looks like. Then the last is the background check. We can also even change the sequence of these stages. Like if you want background check to come before offer, we can do that as well. If you remember the Edit 10 setup chitch, CM or Edit 10 setup recruitment tasks, at the bottom we were able to shift upward, downward these stages. Let me go to the last BP and create it. Here at the bottom, we'll see again the overall status and the decision. What happened? Background check is also run by the firm party majorly. They can provide us with their status as what they have given as the decision. The third party can give us the decision, what was the status of the candidate, and we can just load it in bulk. And here you can see the integration by force if we need any integration to be known. We have to integrate this. This will end with the BP configuration, but tomorrow we'll be doing the end-to-end testing, a rough end-to-end testing. I would want you to create your support to 3 job breaks and your job application and sub-processes for your support because I would like to do end-to-end testing on your configuration. I'll see what you have done and I look into the role assignments and everything. And then we'll initiate like we create a candidate and make a move across the job application processes. Any other doubt? Most of the time we get this ticket. The recruiter is not able to move them to the next stage. Sometimes they skip a task and then they cannot move the candidate from offer letter to the highest. Most of the time they get this error. If we cannot remove, you have to check the next possible steps of your job application BP. Definitely. And you have to also look into those starting BPs that the steps which you have skipped, like you have made them optional, whether they should be optional or they should not be optional. And also if those substages have the end step as decision making steps or not. We can talk to music. One more thing like the job requisition is mostly we create a position. We have to have a position to create a job. But how about for the job management staffing models for that? We have the same thing. We set up the hiring restrictions. For job management, Workday will not ask us for the positions. But yes, we can only include job management only if the hiring restrictions are set on those supports. And yes, then we can create the job posting titles and we can create the number of openings, but no need of creating positions. A job management also can use the we have to for job rec. We can be used for job management. But the positions won't be created in that. In job management, we have virtual positions, right? If you remember, yes, only those kind of positions will be created. Like if a person is hired to job management, he will be hired at a virtual position. It won't be an actual position. I'm sorry I didn't get the concept again, the virtual position, but we have to create a position. We can create 4 or 5 positions and then we can create a job. In job management, what happens? We don't going to create job, create position tasks, and we don't create more. Automatically, what will happen? A position title would be given, like for example, if you're doing bulk hiring for campus. We just define the number of openings. In job rec, we just define for analyst position. These are the number of openings. But once he comes into the system, he will definitely have a designation attached. He might not have a position, but he will have a designation. That designation is like the virtual position. It is not the actual one, but it was created to make it feel that they are hired at a particular position. Well, that title would come from the job requisition itself. we are putting, if you remember, job title in the second section, job review. That would be the title. Yes, and one more thing, like remember, I asked you if you want to add one more reason in a job rec, and we want to skip the business process. Only a couple of two, three initiation, and a couple of steps we want to add. But we have a default definition which goes through all the business process trigger when we have created a job rec. But if we want to add a special reason and bypass all the steps, how can we do that? I think it is in BP job rec, not in this one. What will happen? We'll create a condition rule on our BPs. BP could be job rec or job application, and we'll put a condition that if this particular reason was selected, then it could be optional. The step could be optional. We can do that. But if this was not selected, then this step would not trigger. Like if reason was not selected as this reason, then this step would not occur. Automatically, it will not be there in the inbox. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel. For more information, contact us sales@upptalk.com.